In this video, I want to talk more about forgiving the narcissist, forgiveness, and how far should it go if you do decide to forgive your narcissist? Um, how should you go about it? You know, um, Now in my videos, I talk about, I always tell people never reconcile, never go back into a romantic relationship with them. Do not do that. Because the same thing will happen if you go back. Actually, people have said, people have actually gone back to their ex narcissist and it was worse. So when you go back, they'll love bomb you for a little bit. They'll tell you how much, they miss you, how much they love you. And then it's going to go right back to the way it was and it will get worse. So whatever was the problem last time is going to be like magnified times 100 because all those problems, all those issues that have never been worked on are going to be worse. Because remember, the narcissist gets worse as they get older. So the older they get, the worse this ailment becomes for them. Those toxic traits, the silent treatments, the ignoring you, the insults, all that stuff is going to be much worse because their problem gets worse. So it's going to be worse. Okay. So, no, I do not recommend ever going back to a covert narcissist. Also, you have to understand this too. Because you broke up with them and because you're no longer in their life, they're holding a grudge against you because of that. They're holding a grudge. If it's been 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, 1 year, you've been broken up with your ex narcissist and you meet them and you're talking about, possibly reconciliation together, they're holding this grudge against you. And don't be so quick to trust them that their intention is for good, is real, is for good, good intentions. Don't think that they could have something up their sleeve that's kind of, not good. These people are all about mischief and they shouldn't be trusted because of that. Okay. They're all about games. They're all about mischief. They're all about joking around and, like they think everything is a joke. They really do. Narcissist thinks that everything is funny and it's not, the main thing in my relationship with my ex narcissist was substance. We lacked substance. I talk about this, I can talk about this now because it's been, many, many years. Um, when it came to serious problems, serious issues, downright, real life stuff, my ex narcissist was never there for me. When I had to talk about something that was important, didn't care. It was just went over his head. It was almost like he just couldn't do it. There's a major lack of substance with these people. There is none. There's no substance in your relationship. When I look back at that one, I'm like, we had fun. Yes, we laughed a lot. We had fun. But where was the truthfulness? Where was the seriousness? Where was the substance? There was no substance. So it leaves like this emptiness, like, wow, what a big waste of time that was. Like there was no substance. You'll know this when you break up with them years later. Years later, I remember one time, I forget what it was, but I asked him for a recipe. I asked him for a recipe of something that I used to like that he used to make for me, and he wouldn't give me the recipe. uh, we were kind of on talking terms, kind of on the outs. This was like kind of like when we were kind of like not talking anymore. But I said, can I please have this recipe? I even gave him a compliment. I said, your recipe is the best one. Um, I really liked the way you made this for me. And I loved it. I would eat the whole thing. Like it was so good. And I said, can I please have it? Because I've tried other recipes over the years and they just don't come out as good as what you did. I even gave him a bunch of friggin' compliments about the whole thing, right? Would not give me the recipe. He said, no, I'm not giving it to you. I mean, he was downright cruel. I mean, you know, downright cruel. And like, you don't do that. You don't treat people like that. But this is like an example of what they'll be like. Like they will do this to you. So their intentions are not always for good. They're holding grudges. They're holding like this massive grudge against you and the fact that you are no longer with them, the fact that you are no longer putting up with their BS. You don't want to be with them anymore for whatever reason because, they make you sick. And, you know, don't be so quick. I always say, for me, you have to keep these people at arm's length. And even if, you were to talk to them again and you are to like see them again or even be in the same room with them, keep them at arm's length. You can't get too close to these people. Okay. Um, I had this cockamamie idea years ago that, me and my ex narcissist could be friends. I thought, let's try and just be friends. Let's see if we can build or rebuild just being friends and see how that goes for a little bit. Um, and then take it from there. I thought, let's just try that. No way. No friggin' way. Couldn't happen. He was right back to insulting me. Right back. And we hadn't talked for 4 years. This is part of that video I did a couple of days ago about forgiving your narcissist. We hadn't talked for 4 years. And then I was like, let's just try and talk. No, it was not going to happen. He was still very mean to me, very cruel, very rude, putting me down, insulting me, calling me names that weren't even fitting to me at the time. I mean, just like things that were like so stupid. I'm like, are we still back in, seventh grade here again? That's what it was like. And there was no progression. There was no kind of like, how are you? How have you been? How is this working out for you? How is that? Like a serious, mature, conversation. No, there was no conversation about anything mature or anything serious or anything that meant anything. It was all like, you're fat or you have a big ass. Stuff like that. It was stupid. It was like, I feel like I'm back in seventh grade. And that's the way it was the entire relationship. The whole time I was with him, it was like that. And I said, this is what I've been missing. This is, I haven't talked to this guy in 4 years, and we're right back to, the way it was for 7 years with us, constantly like bickering back and forth. And there was just no way that we could ever have been friends. I did try. Okay, I did try. Let me just tell you a story. I would reach out to my ex narcissist. I used to do this, trying to just like say, well, maybe we could just talk. Years have passed. I've had this cockamamie, illusion or disillusion that, maybe he's grown up and maybe we could just talk. Maybe we could just have a real conversation, and it just wasn't going to happen. He was still ignoring me from the last time we talked. So he was ignoring me again after the 4 year silent treatment. We talked for like a month and then he started doing it again. So you see, there was his apology to me as to when he apologized to me about ignoring me for 4 years. That wasn't really an apology because he went right back to doing it again. So anything that they say to you, it's not to be taken seriously. Like they can't be trusted. Like if they say they're sorry, they're not really sorry. They're not sorry at all. They're just trying to feel you out to see, well, is she really quick to forgive me? It's like a test. They're just testing the waters, you know what I mean? But they have no intention of really changing or treating you well, treating you better. Narcissists don't recognize their weaknesses. They just don't. You can talk to them and tell them till you're blue in the face what they've done wrong, how they were wrong, how they hurt you, how upset you were over something. They don't even hear you. it goes right above their head. Like it flies right past them. They don't hear it. They don't hear it. They don't recognize their weaknesses. Like for me, and for instance, I recognize my weaknesses. I know where I'm weak. I know that I have weaknesses, and I know what they are, and I'm able to talk about them, and it's fine. Narcissists don't. They're perfect. They do nothing wrong, and they've been told, since birth, really, since they were kids, that they do nothing wrong, that they're great, that they're wonderful, that it's always the other person's fault. And this is, not that they're bad people. I don't think the parents of narcissists mean to turn their kids into narcissists. They're just trying to be a good parent. This happens with lots of people. But kids need to be disciplined. They just do. They need discipline, and they need to be told when they're wrong. And they need to be told that they're not always right and that they're not always going to win. There are losers in life. That's what's wrong today, is that kids are not learning about losing. Everybody's a winner today. You're the second winner. Okay, you came in. You're second. You're not the first winner. You're the second winner. You're the third winner. Like, no, there is no second winner. There's one winner, and you lost. And that's what kids need to get thick skin today. Then kids are walking around with very thin skin because we're afraid to hurt their feelings, and that's not right. You know, in my generation, 70s. I grew up in the 70s, really 80s. There were losers. There were definitely losers. Um, there were, if you didn't make the team, you didn't make the team, and you had to sit out and you had to feel like a loser, and that's good. You need to feel like that because no one, you're not going to strive. You're not going to try. You're not going to try if you don't lose. You have to make mistakes to get up again. That's what's missing in people today who raise kids is everybody they treat them like a little pussy, and that's why guys today are not like the men from our parents' generation. Back then, men were really strong. They were really, they were tough. They're not tough anymore. You can see in the generations how males, are becoming more and more wussy, and it's not good. It's not good at all because who are going to be the men of tomorrow? Who are going to be military men? And we need that. We need strong, tough guys. And all this wokeness and all this liberal bullshit is turning males into friggin' girls. And it's not good. And I notice it very easily. I notice it all over the place. I notice it with the younger generation. I do. It's very, very prevalent. But you don't realize that you're doing it. But you are. You're turning, you have to be tough with kids. You have to teach them to be strong and to be tough. Um, so yeah. Anyway, getting back to forgiving a narcissist. So yeah, I had this cockamamie idea that we could, try and be friends. We could try and just talk. Um, you know, after time has passed, I'm like, well, the problem that I think ultimately you have if you're with a narcissist and they still like you, unfortunately, I think that's probably the main problem with mine is that there is the attraction factor that's there. And I feel like he probably would not be able to just see me and have a coffee or have a beer and just see me and shoot the breeze and say, this is what I've been up to, or apologize and say I'm really sorry for this because he's probably still very attracted to me, which is understandable. I mean, it is understandable. Um, and I think a lot of times with people, narcissist or not, that's I think what holds a lot of people back from becoming friends. Sometimes you just can't be friends. You know, not so much because not so much because you still love them or want to be with them, but you might still feel attracted to them. You know what I mean? And a lot of times that attraction can create some hurt, you know what I mean? It can create some, bad memories to kind of, surface and stuff like that, especially if you're already healed. For me, I'm an adult and I'm able to put that aside, and I am definitely able to put my feelings or whatever that is, physical attraction aside and talk to somebody. But not all people can do that. Not everybody can do that. I think also when you've been broken up with someone for 10 years, that should kind of be gone by now. Like that shouldn't be there anymore. Um, but who knows, you know? They have their own reasons why they are the way they are. They do hold grudges. They hold grudges for a long time, years and years and years and years, and they may never get over it. Like I don't think that my ex narcissist will ever get over it. I think he'll always hold on to this grudge that whatever slight, whatever offense he took to me breaking up with him, or whatever it is, he'll always have. Unfortunately, he's just not able to rise above it. He also never really talked to me about anything either, so I don't think that he really put forth any effort in trying to get to the bottom of anything either and trying to help himself. He just, for him, it's just easier not to talk, not to be friends, you know. Narcissists will be friends with some of their exes. Yeah, the ones that are, you know, don't pose a threat to their exposing them as a toxic person. Yeah, they'll talk to those people. But if you're someone like me who's smart and had a real downright relationship with these people and know who they are, they're not going to want to be your friend. They're just not. You know, they don't like that you figured them out. They don't like that, you know, you don't look at them the way you used to. They don't like that. So, yeah, being friends, being acquaintances, being able to be on talking terms, being able to, uh, you know, and it is sad because I see a lot of people out there who are like, yeah, me and my ex are friends, and we are able to talk, and all that. It's like, oh, it's really great, you know, like it's wonderful that you're able to talk to your ex. Like, I have a couple exes that I do talk to, and it's nice to kind of like reminisce about stuff. You know, it's cute and it's nice. Um, it's kind of fun. It gives you kind of a weird feeling after you do it, but it's like okay, and it's okay. But it makes it feel like your relationship is kind of real, like it meant something. When you are with a narcissist and that person like gives you the silent treatment for 4 years or 8 years, whatever, it is weird. It makes it feel like wow, like you know, this wasn't even real. Like this was not even a real relationship. But that's how they make you feel. Um, the narcissist also doesn't take into account your feelings. Um, Anything that you say to them or the way you treat them after you break up with them, anything that you say to them that they take offense to, they don't care about what they say to you. Okay, so like in response to them treating you like shit for 4 years, they don't care that if you finally had enough or you finally reached your peak. They don't care about that. They just want you to be quiet and not say anything. They don't want you to retaliate or to, you know, come back at them with anything. They don't want that. They want to be the one that's in control. And they don't look at what they do. If they would only look at the way they behaved, if they would only look at their bad choices and the things that they did, they would totally understand why you feel the way you do. But they don't do that. They look back on their choices and behavior and say everything was great. I was wonderful. I was number one. I didn't do anything wrong. And people around them, which is their flying monkeys, also feed them that same bullshit. You were great. You did everything good. She's the nuts. She's the nutty one. She's weird. She's this. She's that. So they have, not only do they have themselves, but they have their flying monkeys that also encourage them to keep acting like an asshole, to keep up their bad behavior. And their flying monkeys could be anybody from family members, coworkers, friends, anyone that they know that, you know, is a flying monkey. So you have that also to also kind of fight off. So that's why being friends with narcissists is a very hard thing to do. There's a lot of factors here that kind of go against friendship. Because what is friendship? Friendship is caring about somebody, caring about their well-being, you know, making sure they're doing well, wanting to know how they're doing, caring about how they are, right? Narcissists aren't about that. They don't care about how you are. They don't give a shit anything about you. Once they're no longer using you for something, you're out of their radar. They don't give a shit. They're on to their next person that they're using, and they're worrying about keeping them. They're not interested in what you're doing or anything else like that. You know what I'm saying? They have a very short attention span also, these people. Okay. Very, very short. So they're focusing on what's at hand for them. They're not really worrying about you anymore. You know. So friendship is not a very strong point with with an ex narcissist. Now, if I was the kind of ex that was just like um never said anything to him, never called him out on his bullshit, just kept on, feeding him the bunch of lies that he's so wonderful and great, and was like, "Oh yeah, you're really good. How you doing?" That phony fake bullshit. Then yes, he probably would be a little more apt to being my friend, or even just being on good terms with me. Maybe not friend, but good terms. I'm not fake and I'm not phony. And I say the way I feel. I tell it the way it is. I always do keep it real, keep it 100% real all the time. I don't. I'm not a phony girl. I'm not one of these fake girls who pretends to. I'm not like that. I am definitely not like that. And I say the way it is at all times. There is no fakeness in me at all. Like I should be more fake. I feel. I think I'm too real sometimes. Um, but yeah, like it's just not going to happen. And like I said, I did reach out to my ex narcissist even after the 4 year silent treatment. Even after that, even after we had another argument, we had a big argument after I saw him for that little while, that like month we were in contact. Even years after that, I was like, no, I can be an adult. I don't have to, let this hold a grudge against you. And I know you're an asshole. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to put on an act for me. I know you're an asshole already. Um, but still, we still were not able to come together and actually talk. Um, so yeah, the narcissist holds a very strong grudge against you, and they're not gonna like they're probably not gonna stop. It's probably not gonna get better. That grudge is always gonna be there. That's why I feel like forgiveness is something that is for you have to work to be forgiven. You have to put forth effort to be forgiven. You just can't forgive people because they say they're sorry. Like, what have you done to prove that? What have you done to show me you're sorry? I met him after 4 years. He told me he's I'm sorry. Well, what have you done? What are you going to do to prove that? How are you going to, like, what are you going to do? Telling me you're sorry, that's cheap. Words are cheap. They don't mean nothing. It was empty. The apology was empty. It didn't hold anything, right? So always remember that narcissists are very good at lying, talking good. They talk a good game. They're very good actors, but as time goes on, you will see that it didn't mean a thing. Talk is cheap. Okay, talk is cheap. Um, so also look back at your relationship too and try and say, do I really want to be forgiven? Like, do I need to forgive this person? Like, why do I need to even forgive this person? Like, why do I want to forgive them? I told you that you can forgive somebody from a distance. You don't have to even tell them that you're forgiving them. You don't need to be in their presence to forgive them. You forgive somebody for your own peace of mind, for your own peace. uh, it's not something that needs approval by that person. Okay, you can forgive somebody in your own way, and that's it, and then be done with it. It doesn't mean that you have to, you know, get their approval. Um, but no, and it's a very very sad state of affairs with these people when you have been in toxic relationships with someone like I have, where you're not able to, even after years and years have passed, you both are into your 50s now, and you're not able to come together and just say, it's too bad things didn't work out, and actually talk like like people. and not talk like you're just two spoiled brats, bickering back and forth to each other on who was right, who was wrong. And that's the way it always was. Um, I definitely tried to be the person that was the protagonist, or was the protagonist. There's always an antagonist and a protagonist. I think he was the antagonist and I was the pro. I'm not sure, but I always tried to just be that person that let him say what he was going to say and just laugh it off, because I did laugh a lot of things off, and you have to with these people because they say stuff that don't even apply to you. I mean, he used to insult me, like say things to me that didn't even apply, like calling me fat or chubby. I'm a really petite. I'm 5'2". I'm under 120 pounds. Like I'm a very in shape, thin, I'm curvy, but I'm not like I'm curvy in the right places. Let me just say that. Um, I was never fat. I was never chubby my whole life. I've always been thin. But he would call me fat. He would call me chubby. I never knew where that was ever coming from. Like, why are you calling me that? He had nothing to call me. There was no derogatory term that he had against me. He came up with chubby because I guess he thought that I had something against chubby people. I don't even know. Or he thought I didn't like chubby people, maybe. I don't know. But he would always call me that, and it didn't apply to me. I'm like, come up with something better than that. It doesn't apply to me. You know. I don't know. I think to some people, it just doesn't work. And me and my ex narcissist also had a very young relationship. We had a very youngish relationship. What I mean by that is, when we were in our 30s and 40s, when we were together, our mid 30s and early 40s, we had a relationship like basically college kids. We had a very young relationship because, half of our relationship, I didn't work, he didn't work, and we spent a lot of time together, like playing video games and like we used to do things, like that. We would, not that I had anything against it. I enjoy playing video games, actually. I love playing video games, but we had a very young relationship. We didn't have a very mature relationship because we didn't like get married and raise kids together. We didn't have a lot of responsibility to kids or anything like that. All we had was each other to really worry about. I had myself and he had himself. So we didn't really have a very mature relationship at that time. Our relationship was basically built on fun and hanging out together. Very, very active in certain things, but we didn't have a very mature relationship. When I look back on it, it was very young. We had like maybe the equivalent of a 20-year-old person's relationship, because we didn't have like, okay, we have to go to bed at 9 o'clock. We're going to work tomorrow. Half of our relationship, we didn't even have jobs because we were. This was back when there was a really bad recession and everybody was getting laid off. There was really no work to be found. I couldn't find a job. I mean, I was taking jobs in places that I would never even work. So, yeah, it was hard. It was really, really hard, like, during that time, finding jobs. There was like nothing. Like you would look in the paper, back when the newspaper had help wanted, you would look and there would be nothing. Like for weeks there would be nothing. It was bad. During that time it was rough. And I was with him during that time. And yeah, it was a hard one. It was a little rough. But you know, we had a young relationship. And I think a lot of people have young relationships. That's not to say that all narcissists are immature because they're not. I know a number of narcissists who are very mature and who have kids and do what they have to do and are very responsible. That's not to say that my ex wasn't that way because he was to a certain degree. But our relationship was very young. The things that we did together were very young, very, teenage, I would say early 20s. But it was fun. At the time, it was great because we kind of got a chance to kind of go back and backwards a little bit in our ages and kind of like, it was kind of fun, kind of fun. But, narcissists don't do that. They don't look back. If they do look back, it's, yeah, she was a real jerk, because she broke me. It's not, they don't see what they did wrong. They only see what you did wrong. They don't see their downfall. They don't see it. They don't see anything wrong with the way they treated you. If they did, they ignore it. They don't do anything about it. So, forgiveness for a narcissist is a very complicated, complex answer. You really can't really answer it. Depending on your relationship, your feelings towards that person, what they did to you, how you broke up, how do they treat you now, what have they done to prove that they are sorry? Have they done anything positive? Have they done anything that's worthwhile, that they really do feel sorry? Words are cheap. Don't believe in words. Words are empty. They're meaningless, like that Depeche Mode song. Words are meaningless and forgettable. So no, they have to prove it. And that takes time. Forgiveness, if someone tells you they're sorry, that's going to take time to really, consistency and time proving that they're sorry. But just telling you, hey, I'm sorry, don't believe that, because that's just bullshit. But no, it is. It's a very complicated thing to forgive a narcissist. I say, if you're thinking about forgiving a narcissist who's you've been broken up with for a couple of weeks or a month, whatever, start off slowly, very, very slowly. Meet out for whatever, a dinner or a drink or whatever you're going to do. But see each other, but start off as friends. Start off very slowly. Do not rush into a relationship again with them. Don't rush into, okay, I forgive you, and you're right back to the same thing, because you will be right back to the same thing in a week. Okay. It has to be done slowly, and see what they do. What are they going to do to prove that they're sorry? How are they going to change? What are they going to do? How are they going to prove it? You have to see changes in them. They have to do something different. They have to change something that they've been doing. They have to prove it. And if they're not going to prove it, then that means that you're not worth them to prove it. They're not going to take the effort to prove it. Then you don't need them. You don't need someone like that. You can do better than that. And do not waste your time. But I would start off very slow. Meeting just to talk, not as any label, just meet to talk. Just say, okay, I'll meet you here, and just talk. See how they are, see how they treat you, see what you talk about, see what they tell you. Okay? But don't put a label on it. Don't go there with any expectations. Don't go there with, oh, we're going to do this and it's going to be great. And I know no, you go there and you see what happens. You just talk and let it unfold naturally the way it's going to. And then you can take it from there. But that's what you're going to have to do. Do not jump in quickly, because remember this too. Narcissists can be very charming when they want to. They could be very charming. They can be very kind of hard to fend off. They're hard to fend off, these people. So don't get yourself in a predicament where you can't fend yourself, or you're in a spot with them where it's just you two alone. Don't do any of that. Make sure you're in public, always in public. Keep it into a public place. Don't go anywhere with them where you're alone, because they are hard to fend off, these guys. Like, it's hard. It's tough. So you don't want to do that. Stay in a public place with them, and keep it really short. Don't go there and have a long, drawn out conversations. Keep it to, like, an hour and a half, and that's it. Like, don't overdo it with the first time you see your narcissist after you've been broken up. Keep it really short and sweet, and see if you want to forgive them. Like I said, this is a very touchy thing, and like I said, I don't recommend doing this. If you do this, you do it, do it. If you're going to do it kind of smartly, but do it, protect yourself. Do not go anywhere alone with them where they could, try something, don't do that. You have to really take things very, very slowly with them. Really slow. Um, the only thing that I recommend is possibly being friends. I do not recommend going back to a full blown relationship with them. I don't. I have to say, from my experience, from what I've read, from people I've talked to, and from my own experience, I don't recommend it. I don't, because it is go, even though it's been a couple months, whatever, you will retreat back to that place where you used to be, where you weren't happy. The problems are going to surface all over again. And you're going to say to yourself, why did I do this? Why am I here? This feels just the way it used to feel. And you're not going to be happy. You're going to feel like a complete loser. And it's going to be your fault because you went back. I don't recommend going back to a full blown relationship. A friendship is different. If you want to just talk to each other and rehash the past or, laugh about old times, that's different. And I don't think that there's any really harm in that. As long as you keep them at arm's length, you're fine. Um, but that's as far as I recommend going with an ex narcissist. I don't recommend ever going back into a relationship with them. Don't. Don't do it. It's very complicated, and I understand that, especially if you have kids with them. I understand uh, how hard it is. It is a difficult thing to do, but you have to draw the line. And just like that old, Einstein, quote that he said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. There's only so many times you can go back to these people and give them a second, third, fifth chance and expecting something different from them. It's not going to happen. It just isn't. The dynamics need to change. You need to change. Okay? That's what needs to change because they're not going to. So I hope that kind of answers the question and goes a little bit deeper into the actual feelings of forgiving these people and, the way it really is why you shouldn't, because this is all true stuff. So that's it for this one.